Good morning, everyone. This is Jeetan. It's Tuesday, May 14th, and earlier we have created computer resources and understand the networking capabilities available in the public cloud infrastructure. Today, we are going to go a bit further and discuss about the services that allow you to store data within the cloud infrastructure. But first, we need to understand that there are three categories of data that we store in the cloud, from structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Structured data is data that is very well organized in the form of rows and tables, mostly in relational databases. And then you have semi-structured data, which is not conforming to a particular schema, but you still can have organize that in rows and collections, and typically it's the data that you store in NoSQL databases. And then you have unstructured data, which is pretty much any kind of data, a binary large object, and it can vary from large files of videos to images to audio files that you can store in the cloud as well. There are several services that allow you to store data in the cloud, and those are in Azure public cloud. Those are Azure Blobs, Azure Disk, Azure Files, Azure File Storage, Azure Table Storage, and Azure Queue Storage. Azure Blobs are highly scalable object stores that allow you to store images, videos that web apps can access quite frequently. And if you want to extend your on-premise shared drive infrastructure or have lift and shift scenarios, then you can leverage on Azure Files, which allows you to access the shared drives in the cloud in the similar manner that you access shared drives in on-premise infrastructure with the same protocols. And then when you create VMs, you attach block storage to the VMs, and for that you have Azure Disk, and both SSD and HDD options are available. The solid state drives are more suited for high performant workloads, high performant data workloads. And then when you have semi-structured data, then you can store that in a scalable Azure Table Storage service, and there are services available to migrate data from high performant NoSQL data stores like MongoDB to Azure Table Storage and vice versa. And when you want to implement enable asynchronous patterns within your application components in Azure infrastructure, you can rely on Azure message storage, that and then you can publish a message and then run several background jobs in parallel that subscribe to that message and allows the asynchronous style in your application components, communication between application components. Now, when you store data in the cloud, you can choose from hot, cool, or archive tier depending upon how often you want to access the data and how much you want to pay for it. Like for example, if you have web applications that access the images and video files quite frequently, for that kind of data you may choose hot tier. And then when you have customer invoices which are going to be accessed once or twice in 30 days, then you may want to choose cool tier. And then if you have backup files that are rarely accessed and have to be made available for more than 180 days, then you may want to choose archive tier. There are different redundancy options when you create storage services in cloud, and in Azure those are locally redundant storage, LRS, which replicates data across different machines within the data center. So they will protect against the machine failures, but not to the data center outages. And for that, you can go with ZRS, zone redundant storage, where data is replicated in multiple AZs. And these are the options in the primary region. Now, when you want to extend the durability of your data to secondary regions, you can replicate with Geo LRS or Geo ZRS. And when you want to make the data read accessible in the secondary region, then you can choose Geo Read redundant storage. Now, there are several tools that help you migrate data between the on-premise and the cloud infrastructure. For example, Azure Migrate, Azure Data Migrate, Azure Data Box, and also there are file movement services like Azure File Sync, Azure File Copy, and Azure Storage Explorer that helps you move data between Azure storages and on-premise storages. So there are different options that customers can choose from when they want to store data in the cloud, but it is better to do some cost benefit analysis and also the redundancy requirements that you and the durability requirements on the data that you may want to store in the cloud. That's about it for today. Thank you so much for listening.